What do you think of when you hear this piece of music?
Space.
Music is probably the greatest treasure and the greatest asset that Vienna has.
In Vienna, you can feel the spirit of these amazing masters of composition, Beethoven, Mozart, Haydn, and of course, Johann Strauss, who was the king of waltz.
The music of Johann Strauss II still goes to the heart of everybody.
The Blue Danube Waltz is the most iconic waltz that has ever been created.
Not only the most famous waltz ever composed, but also probably the most evocative waltz.
When you think about the Viennese Waltz and you think about, the three beats, you could think about it as equally spaced, geometric.
Normally a waltz is 1, 2, 3, 1. In the Viennese Waltz, it's 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2.
The 2 is anticipated, and the 3 is slightly late. So it gives a sort of more loftily feeling.
And what that creates is a sense of lightness, of floating.
When I first experienced weightlessness during a parabolic flight, I started doing circular motions, almost like dancing the waltz in space. And I think that dancing the waltz on Earth is recreating the same feeling of weightlessness.
2001 started filming late '64 for 9 months on the main unit and then a couple of years on the models. And in 1968, the Blue Danube quickly became cinematic history.
Kubrick loved music, and he knew music and researched it, and he was perfectionist.
Stanley would have listened to every piece of classical music from all the great composers.
He prepared a year or so to find the right track, to find the right music, the right feeling, and listen to hundreds and hundreds of pieces.
Stanley eventually decided to use the version conducted by Herbert van Karajan.
And so naturally, anyone with these kinds of sentiments for rhythm, for time, for space, would be drawn into that recording. It is really magical. To put this old music into a science fiction movie was just mind-blowing. Who would come up with this idea but one of the great geniuses of filmmaking?
Stanley Kubrick made a pretty bad decision by opting for the Viennese Waltz. And it was a stupid idea. This is what his contemporaries said back in the day in '69. Of course, we know today the opposite is true. He created sort of the soundtrack for space. Thank you, Stanley Kubrick. It was a brilliant idea.
Stanley maintained that everything moved like a waltz in space, and that's why he built sets in that way. Everything was on gimbals and everything moved, and it was beautifully done and beautifully designed.
Because the waltz is movement. The waltz is rotation.
The dynamic of a waltz, this dance-like movement of a waltz, interprets the celestial movement, the celestial dance.
While space is everlasting, and music will last as long as mankind will last.
With something like 2001, where you have these massive objects in space rotating, it really mimics the dancing that you see in the Viennese Waltz.
That association of the Blue Danube and outer space is incredibly beautiful, I think, in the film.
The Simpsons loves to use cultural references. The most iconic use of the Blue Danube is in Deep Space Homer. That is a very clear callback to the Kubrick film. It's hilarious because Homer is floating around and it's synced to him eating the potato chips.
So actually in 2001, when the Discovery space shuttle was docking at the International Space Station, they played the Blue Danube Waltz. I think it's a beautiful combination of an homage to both Johann Strauss and Stanley Kubrick.
NASA launched in 1977 the Voyager spacecraft to analyze and research our neighboring planets and celestial bodies, to bring a message to a potential encounter with ET on board. And that was the legendary golden record.
And of course there was Beethoven, Bach and Mozart. They did not put Strauss on it.
The unofficial anthem of space. A terrible mistake, which I'm sure they live to regret. And they will have to put that right very soon.